8:41. Let's keep it going here, and we're going to bring Vice Speaker Senator Telena Nelson onto the show here. Good morning, Vice Speaker.
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Half a day.
First of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I guess that's all that much can be said.
Right. Yeah, because I know you have some elderly who doesn't, and the family.
Oh yeah. Well, we haven't been allowed to see my grandparents, and so it's hard, but we want to see them around for many more years to come. So this is a small sacrifice.
Yeah. Well,
for them.
let's get right into it. So, were you disappointed? Were you anticipating to go into session yesterday, or did you also find out, like Senator Taitigui found out through the media?
Well, boy, I guess I'd just be honest.
Hey,
that always works.
Because I don't know else how to explain it.
Right.
No, the speaker did give me a heads up before she sent out the letter that she wasn't going to call session. But, in truth, the Committee on Rules and all of the other senators, we have been discussing ways to do it telephonically or, utilize the Zoom app to change our rules, during these, really precarious times so that we can continue to work. So, I was hoping that we would put these measures in place, and it seemed like we had a plan rolling out, and then I guess the speaker, in her wisdom, decided that she would not call session. But also there was some concern with the colleagues, which, they say that, what if the speaker calls in and then one of us gets sick and then that's the speaker's responsibility? I didn't entirely agree to that kind of argument, but, I cannot control the way people think or feel, and so I have to respect the way they feel and how they're being vigilant, because even some of them take care of their parents who are, elderly. And so, those are some things that we need to consider. But we did have a plan in place to roll out telephonically. And
are you talking about Zoom?
I'm talking about going into session.
Yeah, but over Zoom?
Right, over Zoom or some kind of media app. And even in some instances, if some of our colleagues wanted to be present, they would spread out within the session hall. And, it'd be like a partial setup where some colleagues, if they wanted to be present in the Congress building, they would be there, and then they would also, those who would have to stay home because of their parents would be on Zoom. And so, those are just some of the things that we're looking at doing, or all of us would just be on the Zoom app. But the call was made, and so now it's kind of like a stand down, and we're trying to figure out, okay, how do we continue to work now?
Right. So how do you continue to work now, Vice Speaker? The statement coming out from Speaker Tina Munoz-Barnes basically said that, she's going to be collaborating with the administration very closely to kind of, I guess from what the governor had said, to kind of get an idea of where we are at with the local money and where we're at with all the federal money that they're anticipating is going to come into the island. But, one thing I notice about you, Vice, is you never hesitate to go to bat for the little people. So I got to ask you, do you think that had your colleagues gone into session, you would have been able to address any kind of stopgap, measures to help our people who are struggling, who are being told that they're just going to have to hang in there for 3 weeks while we wait for federal money?
Yeah. So I honestly, this is I was talking to my colleagues, and I was telling them, this is very similar to the war reparations bill. What's good for the goose should also be good for the gander, and people are already going one pay period without a paycheck, and so half of Guam is shut down, and people are hurting, and I just don't understand the reasoning on waiting any longer. people have bills to pay. Yes, I understand that banks are deferring, the government is deferring, but I mean, people struggle paycheck to paycheck. That's a reality that we face, and I don't know. Waiting 3 weeks for a package to come in doesn't feel comfortable for me. I don't like one bit of it. I think that, you know, our government, we can supplement this until the federal money comes in. But you know, the governor invoked her executive right, and so she is working diligently along with her staff to try to make ends meet. And I believe, you know, if we look to our local funds and help everyone on our island, our taxpayers, we could address this issue and reimburse the government funds, the general funds. It shouldn't be too trivial. We've seen it with the war reparations. Why can't we do it now to help, you know, our population? Yes, it's a lot of money because we're seeing the layoffs, the furloughs, the cut in hours. But if we're anticipating on receiving this money, then we should just be able to, you know, at this time, help the people, especially those that are suffering.
Vice Speaker, you know, you said something very interesting there, and I was thinking about this last night as I was putting my head on my pillow. You're right. The war claims, this is something that was in place federally. This was a federal program, and the governor and Democratic leadership and, you know, a lot of your colleagues made a determination that they couldn't wait because, you know, people were dying. People were... well, in the Monumco's case, it was more of a, you know, we need to get them these checks right now. And I think the same argument applies to what is going on our island right now. But it's, you know, it's not Monumco. God bless the Monumco's heart. It's more than Monumco. We're talking about, you know, thousands and thousands of people. So, again, I don't understand why we could front money that was later going to be reimbursed by the federal government back then, but we can't do it now. And the governor seems very, very firm on this. I mean, it's we played some of the clips, and, you know, the response is almost like you ask about, is there going to be any local funds? And she's almost biting your head off. So, yeah, I think that there is a parallel there with the war claims and what's going on now. And like you said, the precedent has been set. We did it then. People want to know, why can't we do it now? You know, say it $200, or, you know, we're not asking you to cut everybody a $10,000 check. We're just saying that the people can't hang on for 3 weeks.
Right, and you know, they're, you know, discussing with my colleagues that some of the amendments we wanted to put in the bill would kind of safeguard the government as well, because once that federal money comes in, you know, the government would cease funding the unemployment assistance, and the federal money would reimburse the government, and then the federal monies would then be activated to go assist all those that are suffering from this, the impact of COVID. So it's something that I cannot control, but I'm not going to fight about it because that's not what our community needs right now. I'm just going to continue to pray and should anyone need my help, we're addressing constituent cases, and we're here to help.
What are your constituents telling you, Vice Speaker? What kind of help are they asking for?
Well, a lot of them in the beginning were worried about their evictions, and so that's being addressed. And I'd like to thank Senator Terlahi for that, because she did it in a very clever way, where she was asking the support of the judiciary to ensure that our colleagues the people weren't being evicted. And so another was the payments on their utilities. And so, you know, those measures were put into place to protect them so that they don't get disconnected. Some of it was in response to the health care being provided for their family members at GMH and GRMC. And so, you know, we're just trying to address those and trying to find solutions with some of our executive counterparts.
Hello?
Yeah.
Vice, so, you know, we're kind of wondering, is that it with the session thing? Is there any way that anybody can make a motion or, you know, throw some votes together to go into an emergency session, or is it just a done deal?
Well, nothing is a done deal. There's, the speaker has that authority to call session, and so, maybe hopefully we can move towards this Zoom app because we have a lot of bills in queue addressing the COVID. But, in the letter, the governor did say to refrain from implementing programs that would be more burden to them. And so we're trying to find a way, like some kind of middle ground that we can continue to move bills forward.
That's
Hope that things change.
right. So the middle ground. I mean, right now it's basically my way or the highway is the way I look at it. It's the governor said this is what I'm doing. Don't even bother getting together. But you're saying I think the middle ground would be that you guys do your job, do what people voted you in to do, which is especially in a time of crisis is I don't know, that's probably the time we need you guys most. So. Yeah, I think that would be the middle ground is the governor to kind of just maybe take a step back. And if the speaker doesn't want to do any bills or whatever, then, fine. But it looks like there are a few of you in the legislature who want to get to work for the people of Guam.
Yeah, there's quite a number of us.
I mean, is there more than
There's
eight?
a few.
Is the point, though, Vice? I mean, do you have 8 of you guys or is it?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay.
'Cause
Well,
things change by the minute.
right. It's rapidly evolving, Vice Speaker. That's what they
Right.
say. So is there anything else? I know that you had a bill that was out there for unemployment assistance. Are you satisfied now that we've been able to be included in the pandemic unemployment assistance program, even though we didn't have the unemployment insurance?
Yes, I'm very happy about that. And really, the work of our local Department of Labor, working with USDOL, they did an exceptional job to ensure that Guam could still receive that assistance. But the timeline really is what I'm concerned about. The timeline when the money is into the hands of the people. When will that time be realized? And we're not certain when that time is going to happen. So. Let's just hope and pray that it could happen soon because it's already been in one pay period that the people are going without a paycheck. And so let's just hope that we're able to receive the money by the end of this week.
Vice Speaker, someone had commented on our Facebook feed. They said you should fight about it. You said you were there to help, so this is your opportunity. You mentioned there are people living paycheck to paycheck, so do something. And that's what I want to say. I mean, I know that you're thinking that, we're in a crisis, people don't want to see fighting, but if you're fighting for the right thing, I think people can get behind that. And you believe that this is the right thing to have you and the senators come together and maybe push some of these ideas forward because it shouldn't be a monopoly of ideas. And that's basically what we're getting now is the governor said, this is how I'm going to do it. Stand down, legislature.
Yeah. Okay, well, I will continue. Well, I haven't stopped fight, in a sense where I'm not going to be divisive.
Right.
I continue to advocate for a session. I think I've become a thorn in the speaker's side. But no, of course, absolutely. I'm still going to advocate for that, but I'm not going to do it in a divisive manner where we come out attacking one another.
Well, I'll tell you, Vice Speaker, politically, you don't got to be a rocket surgeon to figure out that if, 8, 9 senators get together and say, oh, hell no, we're going into session, I don't care what you say, that looks good for the people out here. I'm just saying, that's the people out here, right now they're saying, the governor's asking us to wait, who's going to help us? So there's a big void there that, it's an election year. I'm not saying that should be your motivation, but I just want you to know that there are a lot of people who feel like you guys should step up. So whether or not you decide to move in that direction to hear those voices and to convince your colleagues, I guess we'll just wait and see, Vice Speaker.
Thank you.
Okay, God bless. Wash your hands, Kay.
Hazardous pay bill, Chris. We submitted the hazardous pay bill for our firefighters, our customs quarantine, our DOE employees, and private sector employees. And so we're hoping that, if we do come into session, we could also work on that hazardous pay bill.
Thank you so much for that, Vice Speaker,
Thank you.
because I was thinking there was, God, and T was going to kill me. I was thinking there was a reason why I wanted you to call, other than I really enjoy your perspective on things. But yeah, let's talk about that hazardous pay bill, because there was something that the superintendent had said, kind of at the beginning of this, was that according to the pandemic plan, that, people are supposed to be getting some type of hazardous pay. So how does your bill address that?
So really, it's to identify, those that are working directly with personnel, with people, like our staff at DOE who are handing out meals. Thank you very much for the great work that you've been doing. And, they come in contact with hundreds of people every day, and they're wearing proper PPE, but we don't know the complexity of the virus. And then even the private sector employees who are in the hotels where they have the quarantine, they're at risk as well. And our customs and quarantine officers, they don't receive any hazardous pay, and neither do the firefighters who are directly responding to these patients. And so really it's just it's really a small recompense for the enormous work that they're doing, the enormous sacrifice that they're making for our community and for our safety. And I feel that this is something just. I feel that this is something we can do to really, put our money where our mouth is and show how much we appreciate the sacrifices they're making. Because who knows, they're exposing themselves, and then when they come back home, they're putting their families at risk. And their families they understand the nature of the job that their mother or father, sister or brother does to support this COVID response. And they're supportive of them, and so really this is just a way to tell them, thank you for the work that you're doing, and we care about your well-being also.
Right, and I think more than that is if you send people out to work in in conditions that are hazardous to their health, they need to be compensated for it. And
yes,
so
absolutely. And that's a very basic foundation for any human resources proposition, to look after the people in that retrospect. So hopefully we can see something come to fruition there.
Right, and it doesn't look like you're going to get the timeline that you want with a session being postponed. Was it till further notice or indefinitely? TFN, right? So maybe something that could be enacted into law moving forward. I mean, that's probably going to be the best we can do with that, Vice, unless, of course, you really persuade your colleagues to go into session. Well, good luck. Vice Speaker, again, we got to run.
You.
Thank you so much.
God bless you.
Bye.
God bless you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Wash your hands. 8:59, Guam's favorite. We got to do news. We're KUAM-FM, Agotni, Guam. Thank you. You guys share the Facebook feed. We're going to kick this show up a notch in the 9 o'clock hour. Get out there and hear some voices that we feel need a platform this morning. We're more than happy to give it to them. It's containing COVID.